Okay, let's get started.
Just raise your glasses high. This one's for
Amy.
Riley.
Well, that was nice. That one was
I
good.
kept it low key.
That was awesome. I kind of went full force, and you kind of kept it a little short and sweet.
Yeah, this is a special edition Friday. We do sometimes.
Right. We need new. I think we need new music for that.
We should.
Like breaking news. We did that before, didn't we?
We did that for
when the trailer came out.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
It was like do 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 do.
What the hell happened to that? That was awesome.
We should do the 60 minutes tick 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 sound.
Yeah, wait, and it's not a foregone conclusion. I could possibly add that in. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that could be a retroactive thing that I edit into the
Oh yeah, that's
program.
true. Maybe we'll talk for 60 minutes.
Let's do that. Instead of 3 hours, let's do a quick, fast-paced, as if we're sort of Mike Wallace
Yeah.
and Lowell Bergman or whatever. What's
it
that?
would be like, and I'm Amy Scarlotta, and this is 60 Minutes.
Yeah, that's sort of what that breaking news one that we did was. We
Yeah.
sort of already had that.
And plus, we were just talking about The Insider, which is about 60 minutes. It's all coming together.
This is great. So the reason why Amy and I are gathered here on a sacred Friday when we never normally record, unless it's a Patreon,
Yeah.
is that there is so much news in the universe, Bravo universe, that this thing it's hot off the presses, and we need to react to it. But not only that, the news is hot off the presses, piping hot, but also we were going to do this just for Summer House.
Yeah.
Because Summer House is piping hot.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Shocking.
Those ratings need to get up.
I know.
Okay?
I made a plea to everyone when I discussed Summer House on TikTok. I said it's time to start watching because things are going really good over there.
Yeah. I'm literally Mr. Burns with my hands being like, excellent.
I almost never thought that you would have this like what's that called when you're vindicated fully? Like
Yeah.
This is like the ultimate vindication for everything that you've been saying, and I've been sort of with you,
Yeah.
on this same path. Like
Schadenfreude.
it's Schadenfreude. That's what they call it. And I can't believe that Lindsay served us up some Schadenfreude within the second episode of this season of Summer House.
Like, yeah, on a silver platter.
And one of the worst things objectively that she's ever done.
Yeah. She really lost her damn mind.
I don't know what she was thinking. This should have been her glorious wedding season. She should have been like, I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. I'm not going to make waves. I fully want to get everybody into my orbit to rally around my wedding. But no, she had to do one of the worst things she's ever done.
Yeah, I have theories. We will get into it.
Okay, let's do it. So first, let's talk about the news, which is almost as powerful as this episode of Summer House, where first off, I think on a first, I think we should talk about the Jax and Brittany news. So where do you lie in terms of your mind and of what you know to be the case with Jax and Brittany now?
So I heard they're separating, not divorcing, but she's moved into a rental.
Yes.
I know a lot of people think it's bullshit. So that we'll all watch The Valley, which, I mean, them breaking up doesn't make me want to watch the show more personally, but it does, I guess, bring attention to them. So
yeah. Yes, yeah, for sure. So you can't not take into account that this is happening 19 days before, 18 days before their show premieres. I think anyone who's conspiracy minded or skeptical of, sort of like publicity stunts, you have to factor in the fact that why are we learning all of this right now, right before the Valley? But then counter to that, I don't know if Brittany would be so, what's that called? Like let her marriage and her home life actually have this much scrutiny at a time, at a time where, I don't know, it allows for them to look, I guess, like things are not good. I don't know if she'd ever fake that. Like it's sort of, I feel like the home life and the sanctity of her home life is very, personal to her, and I don't know if she would be a part of a game to like moving out of the house
with
for a month.
Kid. Like, how does that work? Are they going to do like split custody then? Like, that's gnarly.
Yeah, so I think Brittany's actions in this. Like Jax, I'm completely skeptical of anything he does, and I don't believe anything he ever says. But Brittany being involved in this makes me think that there's more validity to it.
Right. Yeah. It's also potentially that whatever the show mucked up put a wedge between them.
Yeah, but like when was the Valley was filming from like July to like August or September.
Okay.
So I don't know if really we're going to find out that like whatever happened in the Valley is even connected to this, because this didn't happen till like late January, early February.
Right.
But the newest update is that Jax came out of the gym last night with paparazzi, following him. And he said that she was back in the house and that things were going much better. And he was like, yeah, she was out of the house, but now we're really working on our marriage and there's no chance of a divorce. But then just this morning, there's paparazzi photos of Brittany out with like moving out of their house. So she says, a source close to her says that Jax misconstrued Brittany going to the house last night. She was actually just picking up all of her shit to go to a new place, because so she's been gone for a month and then that lease ended and now she's getting a new rental property to prolong their separation.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So did you hear that part of it?
I saw the photos of her, like in a driveway or whatever, but I didn't know the ins and outs. But I mean, yeah, Jax can't be trusted for any details.
No, he is an absolute liar. And also he doesn't even, I don't think, maybe this is like to his benefit or not calling him full-blown liar, but I don't think he actually remembers anything that happens to him accurately.
Yeah.
I think he's like the worst unreliable narrator.
Yeah. I mean, if they break up, him and Sandoval can hit the town in
You-
shorts.
Those three, like the boys will be going out and having fun again?
Yeah, they'll have like no one else to turn to.
I feel like Jax, like you said, Jax has no credibility with anything he says. I'm taking my cues from what Brittany says about this, and I have to believe that Brittany would not be so want to sully their marriage in the world's eyes, and for her child to play along with a Jax Taylor like sort of balloon boy-esque hoax.
She's a good Christian woman.
Yeah, so are you feeling the same way as me, that maybe we have to take our cues from Brittany and trust Brittany a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see the benefit necessarily of them staging this for the show. Like, I don't think that's gonna work, but I don't know. I also don't really give a shit about their relationship at all.
Oh,
So
oh no.
If they break up, I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking people are saying, people I think more think that this is a publicity stunt, but the odds are that Jax did do something horrible in their relationship and Brittany doesn't trust him and wants to be out of the house with him, right? Like if before the Valley, if we would have known that, if we would have heard this news story, we would have assumed, oh man, this was like a ticking time bomb. Jax at one point always was probably going to, I don't know, we already thought that their marriage was sort of built on a foundation of sand.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they would do, what she would do after. Like, if they get divorced, will she live in LA still?
That's a big question. I mean, she loves the Valley. I heard her talking about how much she loves the Valley and she loved, filming again. So if there was a world where Valley season 2 picked back up, I think she would want to be a part of it, but have a, Ariana narrative, like I'm a part of the Valley, but it's going to focus on me and Jax separating. So I think she would stay in LA.
Man, all of these home ownership debacles, like everyone bought, I don't know. I think, didn't they move at the same time as everyone else? Like everyone moved during like COVID era and got those great interest rates.
Yes.
Like, keep your marriage together for the interest rate.
Yeah. Ariana and Tom moved first to Valley Village, right? And then everyone did it right after them. Katie and Schwartz, Jax and Brittany. Remember Jax was commenting on like how shitty Tom's house was when he would go visit it.
No furniture.
Yeah, there's no furniture. So I think I am more on the side, like you said, that this is too big of an endeavor. If they wanted a little bit of like scandal, they could have gone much more sort of low impact. Like have Jax be like with a hoodie over his head, like in a dark corner, whispering to someone in their ear. Like there's a way easier ones to add to like make this mysterious, but then also have plausible deniability when it goes wrong. This is pretty big.
And they were not. You went to Jax's Studio City last night thinking they would be there, as they said, and they were not.
Yes. Yeah. So I went to Jax's Studio City partly because I wanted to have, exclusive reporting for this episode. And I thought, like, wouldn't it be the wildest thing in the world if Jax and Brittany actually showed up to their advertised trivia night in the midst of all this thing? And then we would know potentially either if it was a hoax or if it was real, because like maybe they're like having a very acrimonious trivia game. And I'd be like, whoa, things don't seem good. But they didn't go to the trivia night. So it was a lost opportunity for me as a witness to anything. But it's sort of in my mind confirmed a little bit that things are bad, that they didn't go to this advertised thing that they said they'd be at.
Did it straight up say they were going, or they just tagged, which is an implication that they would be there?
I think, again, they were able to probably use an excuse that, we get tagged in it. It's our bar.
Right.
But definitely the
That's what you
implication
think.
for me was that if they're tagged, that they'd be going, and Jax reposted it or whatever.
Right.
So I just thought that I thought there was a chance that Jax would show up in the midst of this, like that maybe him and Brittany were on the wrong page about what, where they were at, which it does seem like they are on the wrong page of where they're at. Jax said he thinks things are going good. Brittany said they're going very, very bad. But anyway, trivia night was fun. So it wasn't a full like lost opportunity. I just wanted to, potentially be there in case I witnessed some wild shit, but
Did
they
you
didn't
win?
go. We got in 4th place, but we were doing really, really good. But then this one round, it was all of the astrological signs, all the symbols for the astrological signs. We had no clue, and we were on a huge uptick, almost to 2nd place, and then that dropped us like to dog shit 4th.
Okay.
So yeah, but our team name was Save Their Marriage, and the person who was reading it, he loved it. He goes, "They're talking about Jax Taylor's marriage, everybody." So it's there was a little bit of fun camaraderie there, and trivia was actually fun at Jax's Studio City, but I didn't get the exclusive scoop that I wanted.
Okay. Well, I guess more to come on that one. To me, that's not the juiciest of this week's news. I would say Rachel's lawsuit it's officially against Tom and Ariana, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of strays in this lawsuit. A lot of other people and enterprises that are implicated in this. Evolution, Bravo, Andy Cohen, James Kennedy, who else? I don't know. There's a lot of
LVP.
allegations. Yeah, there's a lot of allegations, but I think specifically the only people that are actually being sued are Tom and Ariana for their actions surrounding the FaceTime video that Tom Sandoval allegedly secretly recorded without her consent, and that allegedly Ariana, once she saw that on his phone on March 1st, that's 1 year. That's today. We're 1 year since you and I went to TomTom and witnessed this happen. She says that she alleges that Ariana shared that video, either sent it to Rachel or sent it to herself, or potentially send it to other people in their orbit, because she says that she knows people that have remarked on the contents within that they wouldn't have known that had not Ariana sent it to someone. But these are, again, I'm saying allegedly completely, because this is just, we only can take Rachel's statements. That's what we're marking on.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because, first of all, so it's, like you said, it's been a year. So it's like, why now?
I think 1 year anniversary.
But that's like cuckoo.
What do you? Oh, okay. This is devil's advocate. This is worst theory. This is a very delicate thing to talk about. Right? Yeah. This is delicate. Well, actually, I don't think I should say it. I think Rachel Leviss. I'm sorry, Rachel. When you watch this is devil's advocate. I don't know how to say this. This is hard. Okay, I think that Rachel has gotten to the point now where her path forward has dramatically changed since she made all of her decisions post Sandoval, and the road in the future that she thought she could navigate has sort of changed tremendously since her initial justification for what she wanted to do, and this is the last straw. Like this is full like burn every bridge.
Right.
I'm telling the final word of my story, and it's a lawsuit, and every allegation that I've been hiding or withholding to not ruin anybody's lives is now out here. Because not only is it Tom and Ariana implicated in this thing, there are details regarding James Kennedy and Ariana of what she knew about Sandoval that are huge accusations.
Yeah.
So I don't know what got Rachel to this point. I don't know why, because nothing in her podcast, I've been listening to her podcast, nothing led me to think that she was getting ready to do this. So in the last few days, something changed about the way she wanted to navigate her life post Sandoval,
Right.
I think.
Yeah. That's the thing that's so weird when you read it through. Like, there's all of these categories. Like, it's like the first one is the hostile and unsafe working environment on Vanderpump Rules.
Yes.
So, but that's not what the lawsuit is about. The lawsuit is strictly about revenge porn law. Like distributing sexual video of someone without their consent, which is very specific.
Right.
So it should really only entail the details of how that video was created, that she didn't know that it was being recorded, that it was texted to X, Y, and Z,
Right.
and shown to people that she had no, say over. But it's like a million pages long, and it goes over like Andy Cohen at the reunion, Lisa defending James's behavior, James and acting disgusting, and then thus their breakup, and all this other stuff that I'm like, why is that in here? It's technically irrelevant.
Right. So this is where I don't know anything about the law. Not one thing about the law. And I don't know how lawsuits work. And even you saying technically that the only ones implicated are Tom and Ariana, and that's who's being sued for a specific statute or whatever, I didn't even know that. It's like, but that's the truth. But I think the rest of the things is like to just provide context and just to add like the alternate history of what Rachel thinks happened, for Sandoval. So, but I don't know why those two things are wedged together. And I don't know why Bravo and Evolution and Andy Cohen aren't, sued for like workplace violations or whatever else she's alleging.
I'm going to keep circling back to The Insider.
Okay.
The thing that happens in that movie is that the whistleblower has a gag order from the tobacco industry, but that he can't share their trade secrets, even though it's a public health violation. So their idea legally is to have him testify, and then that means that once there's a trial, or like once it's in a court document, that's public knowledge. So I feel like she's using this as like, instead of doing like a Vanity Fair piece or something like that, she's like leaking all of her dirt through this document that she knows that everyone's going to read.
You're right. That's exactly what it is. Wow. Good thing you watched The Insider this week.
It keeps being relevant.
No, you're exactly right. It was a way to wedge in her theory of what happened through her eyes. Sandoval, this is Rachel's version. Sandoval, Rachel's version. And you're right. She's just adding what she wanted to say about her general theory about what happened so that everyone would read it, but then still connect it to an actual lawsuit that she's having.
Like it's like grounded and serious because it's in this like official complaint.
Yeah.
But when you read it, it's also written very salaciously, which feels very like Trumpy, where it's like, why is it, I'm trying to think of an example.
No, you're right. It's like preyed on by an older man. And it says, Ariana, this is the vengeance of a scorned woman. He uses a lot of, what's that called? Sort of provocative language purposefully to make this sound much, well, I mean, it's bad, but you know what I mean? Just like try to add more language to make it
like
sound
it's
even
not
worse.
like dry in the way you would assume a legal document would be. It's very spicy.
And then when people, like most people reported on this, everyone, I mean, this is a big deal, like Deadline, everybody reported on this. But they just said the first 2 paragraphs that pertain to the lawsuit. But then there's the general allegations, which you just talked about, and it's the alternate timeline. And I'm just going to say what's in there because I think it's important. Rachel alleges, well, she puts it in context of what she was going through during season 10 filming, like the kind of nightmare that it was for her and like the excessive drinking. But she says why her and James broke up, which this was a huge question.
Yeah.
She says that Thanksgiving dinner from hell that we've talked about so many times, where apparently Rachel's mom commented on James's dick size, Grandma Buttons, I forget what the hell Grandma Buttons said. Grandma Buttons was turning around in circles screaming with a knife in her hand. Thanksgiving dinner from hell. In addition to that, James unfortunately called Rachel's mom a fat bitch. We know that. So in addition to that, James got so outraged and had an aggressive outburst and kicked the family dog 4 times in front of the entire family.
Yeah.
That
I can't even imagine.
I mean,
that sounds like beyond. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't like call the cops or something. But that's, I assume, what she was alluding to this whole time about him being a bad dog owner, or why she wouldn't want Graham to end up in his care. And
she has always been purposefully, I can't say the right word, obfuscating what were the real reasons for why she considers James an awful dog parent, and also the real reasons for why they broke up. We never really got a good story there.
Right.
And then also she alleges that James physically assaulted Kristen, and that was covered up by Lisa Vanderpump, which this is also something that has been rumors have been circling about James. That's a physical assault, right? That's what it's considered, physical assault.
Yeah.
Okay. There has been rumors because Kristen alluded to this at a certain point. She said that there is something that James Kennedy has done that like he should be fired for, but she didn't want to say it. And so now I think Rachel wants to finally put the final word into the ether, that is what happened.
Yeah.
That she knows that, I guess it's like you said, it's a way to get out all of these alleged truths that she's known.
Right. So yeah, that's a big one just because James is going to have to grapple with that now, and Bravo is going to have to grapple with that since he's an active cast member.
But because I haven't that hasn't really been reported on very much. In my opinion, there hasn't been a lot of James Kennedy like headlines.
Right.
I mean, that's a
yeah, I feel like the main conversation point is about Ariana's participation and whether we should all be reassessing our standum and whether what she did was wrong. I mean, the thing is, we don't know what she did.
No, we don't.
Obviously, if she distributed the video, that is wrong and bad. But we don't know if that's true. I think she denied that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's I guess what we have to really. I mean, that's the one where we have to really judge that action. But I have to, I guess, trust Ariana that she didn't, send that to anyone.
I think I read from this document. I haven't read the entire thing, but I've read bits and pieces. And one of the lines in it is that at minimum, Madix sent the video to herself and Leviss.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is that illegal to send it to the subject of the video? It's like kind of tricky. I don't know. But obviously the whole thing is made so much worse by the fact that she supposedly had no idea she was being recorded.
Yeah.
So it's not like a video that she had sent to him that existed. It's like she didn't even know it existed, which is horrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really gnarly.
Yeah, for me, like ethically, like I think I need the law to determine what happened here. Like I don't really want to put my 2 cents in because, like you said, anything that is alleged here is the worst thing we've ever heard, and I do not want to be the Marlboro Men, Philip Morris, being like, "What the hell is Jeremy doing here?" Like if anything that's alleged here is absolutely awful and it needs to be reckoned with. Another sort of Rachel's alternate history of Sandoval is that Ariana knew the cheating for months since fall 2022, and she even commented to them that they should be less handsy in public and save that storyline for season 11.
That seems insane.
I know. I think that's just a long, like, that's just a thing that Rachel has thought from the beginning, that this was maybe too convenient. And so that's one of the allegations where I don't think that sounds right, because I can't imagine that Tom and Ariana post Sandoval would be able to act their asses off for that long and get every detail of this scandal right. It was too big for them to manufacture on their own.
No, that's too much.
Yeah.
And part of me was thinking, what if this lawsuit somehow brings Tom and Ariana not literally back together, but like they're going to, well, they don't technically have to deal with each other. They can take this on separately. But I mean, actually, it probably is making her more pissed at him for getting her into this, because it only happened because of what he did. So never mind. But
yeah, no, I know what you mean. I right as you said that, I was like, yeah, could this ever be something that where they're like, they discuss this together, and like, to dispute it or whatever, like against her. But I think that no, like Ariana will just be like, what the fuck is happening? Like 1 year after she's trying to move past this, and now it's
be expensive.
Brought back completely.
Well,
so
we were also saying that your wife and our friend were in the bathroom while Ariana potentially was watching said video, and so maybe they should be witnesses.
Yeah, no, and also they know her reaction. She slammed out of there. Slammed through the door. She didn't know who was in the bathroom. She did not have to act then that like as if she was going to just start Sandoval at that moment. Like she was legitimately disturbed by whatever had happened.
Like a living art performance.
Right.
She just did it even when no one was around.
Right. Like she wouldn't have had to act in that bathroom when this happened. I mean, I can judge acting, and I know that Tom Sandoval and Ariana could not have faked their way through this. I think that is where I absolutely do not believe Rachel's version of things. And she thinks that Vanderpump Rules was so in the doldrums in season 9 and was losing all of its impact, so they needed some thing to shake it up.
Yeah.
So she has this, it's like a conspiracy theory. She's like, you guys were doing dog shit ratings, you were going to get canceled. How convenient it was that Tom Sandoval's phone came out of his pocket at that show. While I think that Ariana actually did know at a certain point, but like, why hasn't Rachel said that already? Why hasn't Rachel said that she thinks Ariana was in on it this entire time?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of out of nowhere because she's been talking about it in great detail this whole time.
Yeah, she's talked about everything else, but do you think, one question I have, just because of the James Kennedy aspect of this, is this, like, because of the allegations in this, is worthy of like responding to, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I keep Andy Cohen posted on his Instagram stories today that he's doing the Traders reunion, and he was like, feels like Christmas Day. Like, I was like, he's unbothered.
Christmas Day.
And I'm like, he has so many lawsuits swirling around right now. He's got to be stressed. Come on. Like, even if he thinks it's bullshit, like, that's like, I'm worried for the Empire. Whether, I'm not going to defend the Empire because I don't want to be, again, like the company man, but they have to be stressed over there. Like the stuff keeps piling on.
But I don't know. I mean, I feel like Andy really came away unscathed from the Brandy one. I feel like Leah McSweeney's, we already read all those allegations in Variety, and we've already sort of reacted to it. And when you look at the public support of, they're not even like, no one's even really specifically defending Andy. They're just so anti-Leah McSweeney. Yeah. They're like, you ruined this show. No one makes anyone drink. So I feel like he's already dodged 2 bullets.
Yeah.
And if this is the best that everyone has against Andy Cohen, I mean, I think publicly, like PR wise, I think they can make it through these. And then Rachel Leviss allegations have the least to do with Bravo as a whole. It's more the individual actions of certain cast members. Yeah. And then the biggest bombshell, this to me is the worst thing. this is to me the worst. If James Kennedy did, and this is all alleged, so please do not come for me for like saying allegations. This is alleged. If he did physically assault Kristen and the world, the Bravo universe or Vanderpump Rules universe conspired to not have that included in the final edit to Kristen's huge detriment, or like she's a victim in that scenario, I think that would be horrific. And Lisa and Evolution, Alex Baskin would all have to really talk about what happened there, because that would be horrible. And the only thing that makes me think that that is the worst thing that happened is because I feel like Kristen has like tried to allude to something like this happening.
Yeah. Right. And is the Valley produced by like the same people? Like, is she working with the same people again?
I thought I saw Alex Baskin's name on the Valley.
If it's a spinoff, I would assume he's at least like an executive producer.
It is. I'm sure it is.
So that's like another interesting thing. Again, I'm not saying like that, like just because you work with people that treated you poorly means it didn't happen or whatever. But I'm curious to see like if Kristen's still working with those same people, what they have talked about in that regard. But I feel like that, and then Rachel saying that she brought up the sex tape or whatever on camera and they cut that out, and because Sandoval was pissed about it and like was going to refuse to film, like that's bad too. One of the bullet points in this does specifically call out Andy Cohen. It's section E, bullet 40 says, Andy Cohen exploits Leviss's fragile mental state. It says, as expected, the reunion was a train wreck for Leviss of epic proportions. With full knowledge of her then dire mental state, Bravo and Andy Cohen took no steps to mitigate Leviss's abuse, even as Cohen himself expressed concerns about her mental health going to the reunion. And it says one fellow cast member, Katie Maloney, had been openly threatening to, quote, light her on fire. Shay had violently assaulted her. Then we get all of it says, during the reunion itself, Leviss was on the receiving end of unrelenting missives, quote, diabolical, demented, subhuman, a poo-poo head.
No.
Fuck yourself with a cheese grater. You fucking suck. You're disgusting. And I wish nothing but the worst fucking shit that could ever happen to a person on you.
Yeah.
So blah, blah, blah. I feel like they got that idea from when Bethany read it in tears.
Yes. Total. This is a relitigation of the worst things that Bethany, or what Bethany found to be the worst things during watching the reunion or post Sandoval. So that that's
when Bethany was sobbing and saying like, if anyone said that to my daughter, I don't know what I would do. And I was like, your daughter's 12 years old.
Yeah. Right. Totally. Yeah. My daughter was called demented. Well, it's not funny. It's horrible. If we just, it's not up to you and I here on Turtle Time, the Turtle Time News Minute to, it's not on us to decide the morality.
We're not the judge and the jury.
I'm not the judge and I'm not the jury. I'll let the law work, but I think we've said enough of our thoughts on this. Right?
I saw a comment on Leah McSweeney's Instagram where someone was like, by reading the comments here, I hope they hire you a judge, not a jury.
Because the jury
would be
peers?
Like, boo!
Boo!
It's like the BravoCon.
It's RHOBH. It's people who love RHOBH seasons 1 through 12. You and I are on the jury. We're like, Your Honor, she ruined RHOBH. Well, yeah. I think. Okay, this is my final thoughts. Sunshine needs to be applied to this Vanderpump Rules universe and the Bravo universe. And I think knowing, like when Andy rebutted what Brandi said by saying, I was drunk as hell at a Manhattan restaurant and I was with Kate Chastain and we thought we were being friends with Brandi by saying that we were going to have a threesome when she knows that I don't have sex with women. And that's kind of their sexual humor.
He never has.
He's never had sex with a woman.
Mm-mm.
And he thought Brandi was the proper recipient for that kind of humor. And he says that Brandi laughed, which, knowing Brandi's sense of humor like we do, we could imagine a world where that's true. Knowing that detail added so much for me in terms of my moral scale of how to consider that. When I read it, just at face value, I was like, that is horrific. Andy is going down. You hear the context, you understand. All context needs to be applied. And I think it's an all hands meeting at Evolution right now with Alex Baskin saying, let's address every single one of these things, even for the things for whatever producer at a certain point made the decision to edit out these horrible things that Sandoval could not come back from.
Right.
Or potentially what James should not have been able to come back from.
Yeah, they're at that Evolution warehouse in the Valley right now.
They need James so bad. No offense, but like no cast member is worth their entertainment value after hearing that and knowing that they potentially did that at Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
No cast member. And we already saw with Stassi and Kristen that life can move forward. You can, I'm not ever going to talk about what Kristen and Stassi did again, but life moved past them when they made the decision to cut them off. Why the hell would they not cut James or Tom off for that horrible shit?
Right.
And Vanderpump Rules was going to end.
Yeah.
It was already going to end. It should. Well, if any of this shit happened, it should end.
Yeah. I mean, I feel more and more comfortable as time goes by saying that this season kind of sucks.
Oh my God, no, Amy, don't say it. Whoa, we're recording. Stop, no. I will
feel like
say,
I didn't give myself permission to allow that perspective. And then I'll see people online saying it sucks. And I'm like, you know what? It kind of does.
I will not go with you there. You are out on a limb. You are always so good to me, and you come on my branch. I'm leaving you out on a limb. I actually find boring Vanderpump Rules to still be better than 90% of all entertainment because I'm so tapped into the dynamics of this cast that I could watch them eat lunch, 30-minute lunch, unedited, and I would be interested in what they're doing. That's why I listen to all the podcasts. But I get what you're saying. On par, in terms of Vanderpump Rules power, it's radiating low energy right now.
Like if you were gonna have someone heard about Sandoval, but they never watched, and they're like, well, now I'm gonna watch season 11. They sit down with their popcorn bucket and they're like, the fuck is this?
They get their Dune popcorn bucket and they go, I want to see this Lake Tahoe trip that they're all going on. I agree with you. And watching Summer House season 8, episode 1 and episode 2, when I turned from Vanderpump Rules to Summer House, I was legitimately like, whoa, this is what it feels like to watch a Bravo show again. Yeah. There's some fun, wild shit happening here.
We watched the first episode with someone that had never watched. They were thoroughly entertained. Yeah. Also, then if she would have watched that episode 2, I think she would have had major opinions immediately.
Yes. It's almost self-contained. Season 8 is doing great, but I love that you do have to watch 7 seasons to truly understand the Carl and Lindsay dynasty that just came toppling down before our eyes. Yeah. This was it. So is that a good segue? Let's talk
hop
about
right
it.
in. I watched it twice. I got fired up both times.
You did?
Yeah.
I watched it twice too. I got fired up. I was just going to say I'm so fired up that piss is starting to radiate through my body. So I might take a quick one. I think we teed it up really well. Yeah. And of the controversial statements that you and I make every single week in terms of what is going to provide a lot of hatred, where on the barometer of that Turtle Time news minute, how many dings did we get on the controversial, horrible things that we say?
I feel like we were pretty critical of the wrongdoing.
Yeah.
We didn't defend anyone.
No.
My only thing is that the complaint in the suit itself appears to be being used for a larger purpose than the lawsuit itself.
That's the final word. Amy is right. I've never said anything as profound as what Amy said, and I never will say anything as good as that to cap this off. So I'm going to take a huge piss so that I can be empty of piss when we talk about one of the best episodes. Well, for us, for Summer House fans, this was like a Game of Thrones finale. Yeah, this was great. Okay, all right, I'm going to piss. We're back.
We are back. We are emptied and ready.
You're fully empty, right?
Empty.
I'm empty as hell too, which makes commentary better.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to get distracted.
There's a complete, what's that called when two things are related? There's a complete correlation to how much piss we have in our body and when our takes and commentary starts to get really bad.
Yeah, they tank.
They tank. When our tank is full, our takes tank.
Yeah.
Okay.
But our love tank for Summer House as well.
yeah, our love tank for Summer House gets filled up. And so going into this, so I just wanted a little bit of context. People started to say to me, who hadn't watched it, they're like, "Did you watch Summer House yet? Did you watch Summer House?" And then you texted about it, and it was sort of like, I was like, "What's going on in Summer House?" I was like, "I know Summer House."
You were at Jax's Studio
I
City.
was at Jax's Studio City trying to save Jax and Brittany's marriage as best I could by playing trivia in their honor, but I knew something was going on. And then Megan was like, "I just saw a Summer House spoiler." I was like, "A Summer House spoiler?" You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's just not. I'm not ready.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for a spoiler.
Right.
And so anyway, watching this, finally, the last 10 minutes, I was like, God damn, I cannot believe this is happening.
I was so juiced up after watching it. I felt like I could do 100 push-ups. Like,
I mean, 4? I guess putting this in context for maybe new, little turtle cuties who are here with us for the first time. I don't know how the hell you're here for the first time, but if you are, we have been. I feel like we were in the minority for a while, and you especially were out on a limb with Lindsay Hubbard disdain,
Yeah.
and just her as a human being. Like I mean, we've said it definitively, like number one enemy.
yeah, public enemy.
Right. And we heard there's this contingent of the Hubb House hive that like have ridden with her for 7 years, 7 seasons. They love everything she's ever done. They hated Carl.
Yeah.
And then finally we heard from Villa Rosa VIPs. I sent you the message. That was amazing. They were like, even Reddit now cannot justify their love for Hubb House. It's all crashing down.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, the thing is, it was there all along. I don't understand what people weren't seeing because it's all the same.
No, it's not an outlier. It wasn't like I'm like stunned by what Lindsay did.
Yeah.
I'm stunned that like she revealed like her true
She
self
showed her ass
in a way and did something that everyone would consider horrible. It's objectively an awful thing to say.
Yeah.
And normally there's only been little whispers of that, but there was always, with Danielle and her, there was always a way to get away with like saying Danielle is the one who's psychotic
Yeah.
and treating Lindsay like shit. But this is like, no, 100% you cannot defend Lindsay for this.
Yeah.
Her one indefensible thing that I think she's ever done.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go through like the easy breezy stuff leading up to that just quickly.
Okay.
I mean, this isn't easy breezy, but Amanda appears to hate Kyle. Treats him, I will also say, not to stand with the men of the Summer House, but she's being mean to him. Let's just say.
Okay. All right. I'm yes, she is not giving Kyle anything. They are not able to have a good time this entire episode. Once she finds what Kyle said to Paige, she has a fully different version, and she's calling what Kyle is saying about their relationship complete bullshit, which is very hard. Like, they're in a tough spot when she won't even hear his version of things, which I think we said last week or on
right.
last
And it's
episode.
like she said that she basically said him talking to Paige was him talking shit. And I'm like, you both are talking shit, and he's more like commiserating, like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Whereas she's just like actively, essentially gossiping
Yeah.
and talking shit about her husband casually around the house to anyone that will listen. Because I think she's frustrated. But I'm like, I don't know. I felt like what he said to Paige was like totally within reason.
Yeah, well, I do too. I'm not like, I'm on both of their sides, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to parse this with them. I think Amanda does not actually believe that what Kyle is saying is the real reason why he's frustrated. So it's hard for her to take anything Kyle says now at face value because she just doesn't believe the true cause of this.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm learning as they talk about it, I'm trying to like piece it together, but I think Kyle has problems with Amanda's lack of what is that called? Work ethic. And he is such a hard worker. He will send emails and texts at 3 a.m. He's always working, which I know that to be true. I can just tell in Kyle's nature that
Yeah.
he's like working his ass
He
off.
built an empire.
Yeah. But then he says that he doesn't trust that Amanda, or that they have a good foundation, again, a foundation of their relationship where he can grow in terms of buying a house, starting a family, because of Amanda's lack of initiative. But also, then Amanda says, I would be the best mother, and I take care of living things like our dogs. Like, I am so nurturing, and I am one of the the people that like I have always wanted to have a child. She says something like
Sure.
that. And she's like, I am nurturing. I would never procrastinate about our children. So I'm wondering, why does Kyle want Amanda to like work more or take more initiative when Amanda, it seems like, is ready to take the next stage? And wouldn't a lot of her life be dedicated to like the next chapter?
I mean, it sounds like they just don't agree on the distribution of household. Like, he's like, I'm dying. I can't do everything.
Right.
And, you know, our entire lifestyle is built off of me maintaining this business.
Yeah.
And like I said, their office is attached to their apartment. They pay for both of those. Like, it just sounds like he's completely drowning.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need help. And if like we don't have an even distribution of this life together, which includes the business, because like she kind of married into the business too, then like how can they add a baby on top of it if he's already drowning?
Okay, so Kyle is saying there is so much on my plate right now with just what we have, and you're like Amanda's whatever she is responsible for at Loverboy, that we can't even make this work now, so we can't add anything else.
Yeah, I do feel a little bit. I understand that having dogs is a big responsibility technically, but I feel like she brings it up as if it's like her career and like her whole life is like taking care of these dogs. And I'm like, they're like New York City dogs. Like, that's not your thing. Like, that can't be your whole thing.
Right. Well. Okay. Here's what I'll say. I think that I'm sort of skating around something I want to say because I know it sounds like regressive. But I'm saying, so if Amanda wanted this, so say this scenario, if Amanda was ready to have a child with Kyle, and Amanda wanted to make that her main focus and maybe resign her
Stay at home
duties,
mom.
yeah, that concept.
Sure.
If that was what Amanda wanted, which I'm not even saying she is, and she hasn't said that,
Yeah.
but if she wanted that, would that still be an issue for Kyle because he needs the 20% or whatever of the Venn diagram of her to take care of more than just doing that?
Right. I mean, yeah, it sounds like that's a conversation they need to have because they'd have to change a lot to make that work, which is true for everyone. Like,
maybe their empire, like that, you saying that makes me think differently than what I was originally thinking, because if their empire is just so big that it does require help from Amanda and she is reluctant to spend the time to do that, then yeah, they need to reprioritize what they expect from each other.
because I feel like in that conversation when they went to dinner or lunch or whatever they were doing, she never even like entered that conversation. She just said, we need to work on how we communicate. But when he kept saying like, I need help, like he kept just saying, I'm begging for help, I need help.
Yeah.
She was never like, I will help you. She was like, I don't want to.
She said, I'm more on, I am on Amanda's side, or I'm on Kyle and Amanda's side, both of them. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm impartial, but I'm giving Amanda more, I think, benefit of the doubt right now, because I do think there is some truth to when she said Kyle gets really frustrated at work and then he comes home and he's stressed out and he kind of like blames me. And
I also
takes it
feel
on
like
me.
there's stuff that we aren't seeing.
Right.
It feels like there's a missing piece.
Well, think about
because she's so mad, and I'm like, what are you so pissed about?
Well, think about the like Bravo 20% of this. Like, imagine how even what they say they do, like without fourth wall breaking. Imagine the Bravo commitment of this whole thing of being two active Bravo celebrities. Like, there is so much more stress. But I just think I don't know why they can't have the conversation of being like, Amanda says, I don't love Loverboy this much. I like doing the graphic design, but maybe I do once a week. I have weekly meetings with the design team. Kyle hires an assistant and another graphic designer if that's what Amanda wants. Just say, Amanda, what would you like to do as part of the household? And also, if we do raise a child, like how much commitment do you want to have to that and to Loverboy? Like I think you're right. There must be more, because I feel like with some counseling or something, they could get past whatever they're talking about here.
Right. Because when they wake up in the morning and she's like, I want to go home. And like and she's like, I'm going to go in a different car and all this stuff. I'm like, what didn't I see? Like, what is she so worked up about? You know what I mean? Like, it feels like there's something, because then he says in his confessional, he's like, this feels like old times when I used to stay out late and fuck around. She's still that mad, but that didn't happen.
Well, not to be a little stinker, but, cheating is a wound that not everyone can get over.
Sure. But she did marry him.
I know. I know. I'm saying her love for Kyle is so strong, and we were there with them, and we loved their love. But I'm just saying, if that rears its head, which she brought it up, she goes,
Yeah.
"You cheated on me, and I got over it." I can't discount any time that starts to emotionally affect her.
No, for sure. I know. It's like, I think there's a lot. And as we've discussed, they have a well-rounded relationship with highs and lows. And I appreciate that
Yeah.
because then when they get through it, I'm like, they have history
Yeah.
and a bond.
Wait, I'm
So-
going to throw a wrench in it. Remember what Paige said when she said Kyle is just coming to terms with how Amanda has always been?
Mhm.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
We talked
Well,
about this.
yeah. I guess now if you shed the partying and the cheating, she's still acting the same, except the behavior isn't there to justify it.
Wait, say that again?
Like, she was always mad at him
Yeah.
because he was doing fucked up shit.
Right.
But now he's not, and she's still mad.
Okay. All right. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to learn more and more about this season. But this is a very bad place that Kyle and Amanda are at now, and it is reminiscent of the times when they show those flashbacks where it's like it's been very bad before. I kind of forgot about Amanda calling him when he was like chugging rosé at that event, and she was like so
She was
anxious.
losing it.
Yeah.
I will say though, I won't creep ahead, but when Carl and Lindsay start their demise, you can see that Kyle and Amanda bond.
Oh yeah.
It's like they absorb the negative energy, and then they start cuddling.
Like Kyle's like laying on Amanda, and they're both just like talking about how fucked up Lindsay.
And when they go to sleep, they're holding hands. I was like, yes. Like the
They're, like,
power has
bonded.
shifted.
Well, Carl and Lindsay like can do anything. Like they just shift the dynamic so much. Okay, well, let's do a couple more highlights and then get into the real meat. So, like, obviously, I'm still continuing to be Team West till I die.
Everybody loves him. You
Yeah.
can tell.
And I actually, even though Jesse had little moments where he's like, "I'm a killer, and if I want to get somebody to cheat on their boyfriend, I will." I felt like that was a little bit of just tongue-in-cheek hubris, a little bit of villainous energy. But he actually seems to me, unless he does something horrible that I don't know about, he seems kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I like his dynamic. Maybe we needed a little bit more of that chaotic energy.
Yeah. And he, it's later, but he, reveals that he's a cancer survivor, which actually made me, I think the whole table was like surprised. Like that was kind of like a surprisingly, I don't know, like deep and
yes,
profound fact.
Yeah, and his outlook on life, his reaction to it was, I've never seen anything like that. To me, that was very unique. He was like, I am so happy this happened to me because it changed my life. It made me like appreciate every moment. And like he said, until you've like been so weak that like your dad and brother have to like carry you around, it's like it changed his entire mindset for the rest of his life. And Carl,
he was like thrilled. He's like, I love self-help. Let's talk about it. Like more life. Like
Carl, oh my God. Carl in this episode is like, he is like a hero. I was like, Carl handled every single thing that happened in this episode very
I know.
well.
He's like I've judged him for being a weakling in the past because he just defers to Lindsay a lot. But as of now, which is why I think this is the beginning of the end, he has a backbone.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. So okay. So we'll so there was a lot of party energy, which we don't really need to discuss. That it's just fun. Sierra and West are continuing to flirt.
She's thrilled to see that most of his friends are black, and she's like, "I love this. I knew it."
She's like, "I knew it."
Which I'm like, I wonder what the giveaway was, but I love that for them.
I love that too. I love that Jesse and West have a burgeoning friendship on their own. It is so easy for new cast members to fall into a trap of like being antagonistic with each other or trying to be competitive, but they instantly did the exact opposite and went to a game together, had fun, were eating wings or whatever that was that they were eating. I was like, this is a new dynamic.
Yeah.
West and Jesse were like coming to the house together as friends. I thought that was really sweet.
Really fun. And then we get the first introduction. We're back in NYC, which, can I say, when Amanda woke up in the morning and said, I want to go home, I was so shocked because I forgot that they leave.
I know, me too.
I was like, what do you mean go home?
The concept
I was
of
like,
the
what are
show.
you talking about?
Wait, yeah, I was like, you're going to go home on a Sunday morning? It's like when every single...
And I'm like, why don't they at this point just have them fucking stay the summer? Like, what's the point?
Right, the concept.
They have to drive back every week.
Yeah, that's why the COVID season hit so hard.
Yeah,
'cause
but
they
I'm
were
like,
just there.
just have people, they can come in and out if they have shit to do in the city, but like, why not just have people stay for the month?
Yeah, why not just have a 2-month summer vacation? I mean, all of you this is your main job at this
Right.
point.
I think they're holding on for dear life to the concept.
The concept, just like with Vanderpump Rules, it's starting to stretch out and like
Yeah.
it can't be contained much longer.
I think, didn't our friend say that Lindsay's new lower third says influencer
Oh, it does.
for her job?
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that.
So, all right. And then Sierra still says nurse/model, which I'm like, when's the last time she like wore a nurse's smock?
Yeah, I think since her first season.
Yeah,
I'm not
she like quit during COVID, I think.
Yeah.
But then it's like NYC, Carl playing basketball in the city.
No, yes. Now this is a scene that I thought was interesting. That had the
Yeah.
kernels of what was to come.
Yes. Lindsay shows up. She's like, hey. They're like, hey, babe. Like immediately grading, just like,
Yeah.
we are a couple.
She goes, next person to dunk the ball gets a water from me. Right?
The other guys are like, bye. They
Yeah,
just
they
immediately leave. And then she sits down and he makes a joke. He goes, I'm not going to say babe this summer. I'm going to say dude. And her face drops.
Yeah.
And she's like, do you really care what people think? Do you call me babe at home? He's like, yeah. And she's like, well, then. And he's like, I was making a joke. I guess it didn't work. And she's like, yeah, it didn't work. And I was like immediately like terrified.
I was terrified too.
He looks upset.
I hate for Carl that his first scene with Lindsay of this new season has to be that he has to admit that he made a failed joke. And she says, yes, that was a bad joke that you made. Also, yeah, I mean, it's like, why couldn't she just give him that? It's just a silly little moment where he commented on them saying babe over and over again last season.
I know. Like this is the thing that, you know, comes into play later. I think that they've been in a bubble since last year, just like doing their own shit, being in that $13,000 a month apartment, engaged. She's like, I've locked it down. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing to lose. Like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. He'll do whatever I want. And then now they're re-meshing
Yes.
with the group.
Yes.
He will have relationships with other people. Not everyone there loves her. He is going to have a little bit of independence in the sense
Yeah.
that they're not going to be like inseparable.
Right.
Um,
Right. Their relationship in new light shows Carl a different Lindsay, right?
Yeah.
They learn more about each other when they're with the Summer House crew than they would of the last 6 months that they've been off camera.
Right. So yeah, it's like, I feel like under the pressure of that scenario, the worst is going to come out. But you already feel it here, assuming that this was, you know, filmed ahead in the time or whatever. But she's like, you know, she says, they both say last summer was one of the worst summers in history. And then she's like, well, except when you proposed.
Right.
So it's like the summer you got proposed was the worst summer of your life.
Yeah, I didn't know what Lindsay was going to do later, so I kind of felt bad for them at this point. Just that like the start of their relationship was so sullied by the other cast members' reaction to them. But then you remember, just in context, like they were active participants in this.
Yeah. She goes, who knows what's going to happen next summer? I might be pregnant. And he's kind of like, he doesn't look that, I don't know if they edited it that way, but he doesn't look particularly excited about that.
I thought like he was just tired from dunking on everybody. I thought at this point, I was like, Carl is not out yet. I was like, he's not out yet.
Yeah.
Like they keep showing this scene when she did say she's going to be pregnant and they keep showing that Carl face. And I think he just has residual embarrassment about doing that really bad joke on camera and like how awkward their relationship seems on camera. So he's still a little bit in that mindset. But at this point, I do not think Carl was like having second thoughts.
Right.
I think truly, I think what she does this episode is the start.
Yeah.
Like she just pulled the thread.
He's furious. Yeah. Okay. So they mention Danielle here. They say, you know, we'll see how it goes.
And this is what they wanted their storyline to be. So she says, oh, I want a better summer with Danielle. We invited her to the wedding. And Carl is still so Lindsay pilled that he's like, well, yeah, if Danielle has a good attitude and she supports us, then obviously we want her there. So they thought together that they were going to reconcile their friendship with Danielle potentially, and that was going to be what we were going to witness between them.
Yeah. But she was still kind of a bitch about it here. She's like, well, she has 10 days to figure it out and book a room. Like, okay.
Oh God.
And then we already talked about the Kyle and Amanda date. Everyone comes back to the house. Jesse and West arrive together. Carl and Lindsay arrive. Carl has brought surf and turf, so he's arriving on a good foot. That's a luxurious offering.
He comes bearing gifts.
Yes. He immediately is like, Jesse, let's do it. Height test, which was fun.
I loved it. They are the exact same height, and seeing them actually do the height test, you're like, this is a new
It's exact.
Carl. Like they figured out how to match him in the house. That was really fun. Is this also when everyone has the reactions like West or Sierra jumps in West's arms, which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think does West jump into Carl's arms?
Yeah. And he calls him West Wing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really sweet.
And then so West, who's like a newbie, is like, happy to give you guys the room I've been staying in. If you want it, it's yours. He's like, I would just love if I could keep the fan because I like having the fan or whatever. And Lindsay's like, why is it really hot in there? And he's like, not really. Like, I don't know. And she's like, historically that's the hottest room in the house. And he's like, well, just go check it out. Let me know if you're good with the temp or like if you're cool with it or whatever. And she goes, I mean, I know the house. I've been here many times. I'm like, why'd you like chop his dick off? Like, can you fucking chill? I'm like, you don't know what you just did because everyone is obsessed with West already. You haven't been here and now wrong side of history. You're done.
I would have been mad at Lindsay if nothing else happened this episode. I would have already been mad with how she treated West because he was being so genuine and nice and doing so much. Like, there's nothing about what he said that you could take. What's that called? Like, there's no interpretation of what he said where you should be mean to him for that. Like,
no,
that was giving him what's that called? Like, you shouldn't give him the benefit of the doubt and wanted to like assert her authority over him and how much she was more a part of this house than he was instantly.
Horrific.
Yeah.
And then they show them go up to the room and I don't know if they realize that he's in the bathroom getting his stuff out and Carl's like, Lindsay, you seem like pissed about this room or whatever. And then like West comes out and she's just like, no, it's fine. She does like a passive aggressive shaka. Good vibes. And Carl tries to like be like, let's talk about it. And she's like, no.
And then Wes goes, I'm sorry, I think I entered something here. I'm going to just leave right now. But like what? Like, I mean, they got the West cleared out of, I guess, a better room to make room for them, right?
Yeah, like what did you want?
And I liked that all Lindsay did was make like one noise. I don't even remember what the noise was. And Carl instantly knew that Lindsay was upset.
Right. Yeah. Then Kyle, who always has his producer hat on, goes to Danielle's room.
Oh, yeah.
Asks her how she's doing with them there. Danielle, at this point, is a normal human being and says, I don't even want the relationship we had before. I want like a new version because I've learned a lot since everything that's happened. I was like, good. That's smart.
Yes.
And then while they're talking, Lindsay, I literally screamed. She like went down the hall and turns her head back and looks at them talking. So she like clocks that they're talking probably about her. And I literally like screamed.
Yeah, she was walking backwards. You saw that?
She did the spider crawl like the Exorcist director's cut.
Yeah, and then Kyle like starts to say something so it doesn't sound like they're talking about her.
Laughing though.
Yeah, that was great. I want to say one thing is that Carl and Lindsay were actually greeted with good energy. I think in season 7, if I'm remembering correctly, they did not get a warm welcome because they are so awkward and no one knows how to deal with them. And I could see why that might have set them on the path of like, we're not welcome here. They got a good reception here in season 8. I mean, Carl did a lot of good work by bringing surf and turf, by immediately hugging everyone. Like, but I'm just saying, like, they got best case scenario for awkward energy coming into the house. Like, Lindsay was the one who said, I'm instantly anxious here in her confessional, like because of where me and the girls left off at. Yeah. But they didn't do anything wrong. Our heroes of this story did not do anything wrong.
No, you can tell she's immediately looking for beef, very low key.
Yes.
Like when she's like drinking the air. Yeah. She's like drinking the rosé or whatever. And then Danielle and someone else have an interaction. She's a little bit like, like you can tell she's looking to be pissed.
And if Lindsay wanted it, Amanda would be very kind to Lindsay. And I honestly think Paige would be the same way. They're not like, you know what I mean?
They're cool.
They're cool.
Like they just like, they're like, whatever.
They give what they get from
Yeah.
Lindsay for the most part. And
yeah,
even,
they don't go out of their way.
Yeah. So I thought that I just wanted to note that this could have started off on a good foot with Carl and Lindsay. They weren't like a skunk that just sprayed its skunk
and Carl
smell
had
when
a
they
great
walked in.
night. Like without this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to call out is that the fun fact, not a fun fact, but a little known fact before Jesse says that he's a cancer survivor, West reveals he's been to all 50 states. And then I thought it was really funny. He was like, can you imagine if Jesse went first? And then I was like, I've been to all the states.
That was the funniest moment of the episode for me. If they would have just switched, that would have been the lamest thing to ever say after
I'm
Jesse's
like
beautiful
obsessed
story.
with him. I didn't know I had love in my heart like left for a new person like this.
That's what I'm saying. New cast members can be absolute complete shit. And Summer House had such a bad track record for casting. And West is like a shining light.
He's
and
really funny.
And Jesse too. I'm not going to just...
No, I like him more than I thought before.
Yeah, he said a couple villainous little stinker things, and who knows what the hell he might reap on the cast. But right now, I love the casting decisions they made. This is the best casting they've had in a really long time.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go.
Okay. and
They're going to go out after dinner.
Yes.
As they do. They have it sort of relayed, like Lindsay's telling her side, Carl's telling his side, which is corroborated by Kyle and Jesse. Lindsay says, I ended up in a lift with the boys, separated from the girls. She apparently expresses to Carl that she's worried that the fact that she didn't drive with the girls will be used against her. She says that Carl completely shut her down and like wouldn't hear it. Carl says the same story, but he said that he was like, don't worry about it. Like, I get what you're saying, but like, it's not a big deal. Like, don't worry about it. Then he says that she looks him close in the eye, like gets in his face and goes, what are you on?
Yes. So that is exactly what both of them say. So in Lindsay's version, she says that Carl had Coke-filled pupils and screamed at her in the back of the car with Kyle and Jesse as witnesses. And that sent her on a journey to think that Carl had just done huge lines of Coke, and his entire behavior the rest of the night was affected by his drug use.
Yeah.
And then we have to just say that objectively, without a shadow of a doubt, that what Carl said happened is what happened.
He's like the most sober human being I could imagine throughout this whole thing.
Just I will not give Lindsay any of the benefit of the doubt because Kyle and Jesse said that there was absolutely no reason. And also Lindsay was drunk as a goddamn skunk in the car.
Wasted. Kyle is like, says that she went from 0 to 100. Jesse said it came completely out of nowhere. They all get to the club. Lindsay's clearly pissed immediately. She immediately is like, I want to go home. Gabby's like, fuck, like, can I at least get a drink? So I'm like, your role this season blows ass. You just have to like leave with her every time she's mad. Like, I'm sorry, that's a thankless role.
Yeah.
Amanda reveals in her confessional that she's like, you know what? I actually took notes because when I get drunk, I can't be trusted to remember anything.
Yeah.
So she has like notes app. What Lindsay said, according to Amanda, was he's on something. He's so mean to me. I can't do this. I think he's on something. I love the producer was like, Amanda was like, I took notes. They're like, no, you didn't.
I know. Yeah.
I'm surprised more people don't do that.
I know. Yeah. Seriously. No, that was great. I have to pause for a second because now we just entered the Coke chat.
Yeah.
Cocaine Carl.
Yes.
So, okay. So now that I'm removed from actually seeing one of the most shocking accusations in Bravo history in which someone is in a relationship and accuses their sober partner of being on
relapsing
Coke. Why? And I think you probably have theories. What is the Lindsay defense here? Because I want to go devil's advocate. I want to defend the devil in the scenario or just at least allow for what happened here. Why did Lindsay think Carl had just done a big, huge line of Coke and aggressively yelled at her in the car?
Right. So should we first say what she says to Gabby, or you want to talk about it before?
Whoa. She comes back with Gabby, and she goes, "I can't be around him when he's like this."
Yeah.
He is very reminiscent of when he used to do coke.
Yeah.
Right?
She goes, "The way he treated me was reminiscent of Carl on cocaine. I don't know what happened, but he was not sober tonight." She goes, then she, I think upstairs then goes, "Something's wrong with Carl. The way he was speaking to me was cocaine Carl tonight." And Gabby calls Carl and is like, "Are you good? Like, what's going on? Are you coming back?" And he's like, "Hi, Gabby. Everything's good here. Thanks for calling. Thanks for your concern. We'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Clearly the most sober that I've ever heard someone's voice sound on a phone. And Gabby says, he sounded very sober to me.
Yeah. So my theory, like I said before, is that Carl had fun. Lindsay got trashed, went to the dark side, was furious that he was bonding with everyone else, that his loyalty may shift because no one there likes her. And he's bonding with them now. She doesn't have his sole attention any longer. And her kingdom, her, control over him is at risk. But she plays it fucking wrong and ruins it all.
Okay. I like that theory. I like that theory. I think that there's a lot of merit there. Okay. But he hadn't bonded yet that hard with everybody. I mean, she saw the height competition. She saw massive hugs all around. She saw that everybody was thanking him for surf and turf. Then she gets in the car and she has one moment of like alcohol-fueled paranoia.
Yeah.
And the minute he says something that doesn't fully validate her feelings, she wants to accuse him of not being in the right state of mind. And the way to say that is that it's not alcohol, but it reminds her of when he used to be on coke.
Right. Like the lowest blow imaginable.
So in no world, in your mind, and I'm not even saying at all that I think this is true, I was just only trying to give Lindsay, for some reason, trying to give her some moral nuance here. Is there any world where Carl has done something in their relationship that would ever lead Lindsay to think this? Is there anything that she could ever think that he was cocaine sober, where you don't drink, but you only do
New York City sober, like Cali sober? It's cocaine only.
I don't believe it.
No.
I don't believe it at all. I'm only saying it because I'm like, where did this come from?
Right.
Why did she
nuts.
go? She went out on a limb. Like, we talk about going out on a limb. She went out on the longest limb in the world that no one could follow her on.
It's like, the more I think about it, the more disgusted I am by it, because it's not just that, like, it's one thing if like your partner gets fucked up one night and you're like pissed and you're just like, you're saying like you were fucked up, like whatever. Yeah. But it's like his entire, like, he basically like was like going to die. He's made his brother died from this. He has turned his entire life around. His whole thing right now is sobriety. He works really hard at it. He's like taking it very seriously. To then just play that card, like, that's he should be like, I'm not marrying you, because if you're going to bring that up every time you're pissed at me, fuck you. Like, that's evil. Like, that means that you don't respect me. And that means that like you're going to use it as a pawn and that you always thought you could control me because of my issue there. Yeah. Like, fucking evil.
Yeah. Yes. You're right. That's what it was. That was truly what it was. It was like you wanted to make him think his behavior was so bad that you used the one thing that he would hate to hear the most to like hurt him, to like make him apologize to you or something. No. And so it's horrible. And then again, it was already awful because she says the word cocaine about 10 times when she's drunk. Like you said, all the time she said it. Reminiscent of Kyle said it once. Yeah. In season 7. And it was the biggest deal in the world.
And it was about the past.
There might as well have been blaring sirens in the scene that came out when Kyle said that. Yeah. She said it now, currently, about her significant other. And not only said reminiscent of cocaine, she called him Cocaine Carl. Like,
that's like, again, Trumpian.
Then the next morning, to say it again. Not
In the sober light of day.
in the sober light of day, after you threw a water at him to try to get him to forgive you and that didn't work, to accuse him again that he possibly did it. Now there's no excuse.
No, it's
you can't even
insane.
say I was blackout drunk
Yeah.
and I don't remember what I said.
Yeah.
And
Or like, sorry, I went to the dark side. I would never mean to say that.
And I've never gone that low before in my life, but you like hurt me so hard. I don't even know why you hurt me. It reminded me of something, and I used the lowest blow possible, but you said it in the morning too.
Insane. Wait, I just want to
Yeah,
read
of course.
Carl's sober text
Yes.
really quick.
Yeah.
Because he goes, it's like perfectly punctuated, spelled, and everything. Happy to have the same conversation we had tonight, tomorrow morning. Perhaps a good night's sleep will allow us to listen to each other and have a convo about what your experience was and what mine was. And she goes, let me know when you're sober. Like, she pulled the demon card. Like, she chose violence
Yes.
again and again.
She did. I was thinking like he did perfect boyfriend response AI.
Yeah,
and she did
therapized.
and she did exorcist demon AI.
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu AI.
ChatGPT, can you respond to this message in the voice of Pazuzu?
It's say the worst thing in the world to my boyfriend's wonderful response to me.
And he goes, I'm sober right now, Lindsay. You're not. Period.
Yes. And I loved, I'm glad you highlighted it. I loved Carl's response. It was perfect. I would love in the sober light of day to talk about our completely unique, different experiences about what happened. That would be great.
That's nice of him.
Yes.
To be like, let's talk tomorrow. You're probably going to regret this.
Gabby, I just want to add Gabby in here. The fact that she had to be the shoulder to cry on for Lindsay in this indefensible position. She gave Lindsay a little bit, but once Lindsay started going full-blown cocaine Carl, Gabby did not go there with her.
Yeah.
So give Gabby credit for not like going full Lindsay mode, at least.
Yeah. And then, after he says, I'm sober right now, you're
Yes.
not. She goes, now, sure. Before, no.
Right.
You were awful to me. You were so mean to me. And this is when I think Kyle Carl says in his confessional, he's like, I'm shaking even thinking about this right now.
Yep.
He goes, it's beyond hurtful and fucked up. This is who I'm supposed to marry. And then it cuts to Kyle and Amanda snuggling. They're basically like in like 69 position, like intertwined, being like, this is insane. Like, why? How could she say that? And then Kyle goes, yeah, Lindsay should stop being a fucking dickhead.
Yeah, it was so sweet. They are like lovingly embracing each other, and Mon is right in between them. It's like a perfect, beautiful moment. And then are we in the morning now?
Yeah, Carl is snug as a bug.
Yeah.
Slept like an angel.
Yeah.
So comfortable. And then she barges in. She slept in a different room. Here's water. Almost as if to be like, you're probably going to need this because you were fucked up last night. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why does he need water? Like, he's fine.
Yeah, she throws water and it bops off his head. And he goes, I don't need water right now, but I appreciate it. And she goes, what?
He reaches over the bed and puts it back on the nightstand.
And
like,
she goes,
no.
why can't you just say thank you that I got you water?
And he's like, I did.
Yeah. Well, so I thought actually not contrary to the theory that she says, here's water for your cocaine hangover that you're having. I actually saw that as a Lindsay-esque olive branch to hopefully see if the sins she committed at night could possibly be washed over with water, absolved with water. And that was her low effort, that wasn't that bad. Have some water, kid. And see.
And then if he was nice, then she would have been nice. But then he refused and she got pissed again.
And then made him have to think about why, and then made him skeptical of his reaction to her water and tried to create a new branch of the argument to get out of the initial thing that they're talking about.
That's the problem. If you're going to go toe to toe with someone who's sober, you kind of have no leg to stand on because you were fucked up last night. So it's like, and your version of the story, you have to agree is tainted. Like, what kind of psycho are you that you don't think that when you're blackout drunk that your version of things are skewed?
Yes. And
I say that as a drinker.
Right. No, totally. Like it cannot be overstated that Carl was completely sober and everyone in the house validates what Carl said.
Yeah.
Lindsay is fully alone with this horrible, horrible thing that she did.
Yeah, she's like, you were treating me like shit last night. And he's like, I'm sorry you feel that way. And she's like, you're sorry I feel that way? Like, trying to act like that was such a cop-out.
Well, it's the thing that they use against people when you say, I'm sorry you felt that way.
Yeah.
You can't just say sorry, but he literally is having to say that I'm sorry that you took a scenario that I don't agree with you about and you took it that way. Well, you were drunk as hell.
Yeah.
Like
she's getting more and more furious that he won't play in.
Yeah.
But she never articulates
No.
a point this whole time. She goes, this is why it's impossible. We're going to have the worst weekend ever. And he's like, well, you made it that way. And she's like, we should just pack up and leave. He's like, if you want.
Yeah. And there is a lot of tangles to her argument. Like she is trying to get away with a lot and subvert the narrative. And Carl is staying point blank. Here are the facts the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's only until she says it again.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, why did you say in your text, I'm sober right now? As if that's the smoking gun for her.
Yeah, and she also at one point goes, you're the one who was clearly doing other things.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, if Carl was like low-key relapsing in the Hamptons on his first episode of Summer House, shit would go so wrong so fast.
Of course.
Like, are you insane?
Yeah. Yeah. So then he actually gets upset, as he should. And then she accuses him of being very angry and screaming at her. And he says, I'm upset. These are my feelings right now.
Yeah. He's like, I was sober in that moment. You were not. You drank all day long and were rude and aggressive.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I'm not going to talk to you if you're going to scream at me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you get to be pissed off and like angry whenever the hell you want. I'm going on a run because he's Mr. Health.
Yeah.
And he's like, get some rest.
He says, get some rest, Lindsay. You just did a horrible, horrible thing.
And I think we need to follow this up by what her Instagram story said today, because
Thank
even
you.
this many months later, she still doesn't really apologize at all.
I said it was an apology when I was talking about this. And then Megan said, there's no apology in this message.
No, I'll read it. It says, after watching back this week's episode, I wish I had used better wording. I was emotional and hurt by what had transpired earlier in the night. And what I said was meant to be a private conversation at home with one of my best girlfriends. I have never questioned his sobriety before this moment. And from that day, from day one, I was his biggest supporter. I have always been transparent on the show about my feelings and have leaned on my friends for support. And that was my only intention here. Private conversation? Are you insane?
Yeah. Okay.
How many years have you been on Summer House? You think you're not on camera when you said it 30 times? Night in the kitchen, night in the bedroom, in the morning with Carl.
Right.
You thought those were all private?
Yeah. So what she is saying there, it's not an apology. I don't know what words she wanted to use, that these were the wrong words. I guess if she wanted to say, like, you are reminiscent of cocaine, Carl, and you're treating me like as if you were on cocaine. But she said specifically many, many times, everywhere, in every single camera, that he was actively doing cocaine. So that first sentence does not make any sense. There's no way to say you were misconstrued with what you were saying. There's no alternate version of that.
You can't weasel out.
Yeah.
You said it so many times.
And then she is putting blame. This is PR shit. She's putting blame on Gabby and Amanda and whoever else for getting this into the house when she thought she could have kept this between Gabby and Carl all summer. But there's no way, the way that she was talking to everyone all around the house, there's no way that would have been contained. And everyone should react to that. Gabby should be able to say that that's the wildest thing I've ever heard in my life and tell anyone she wants. So she's blaming Gabby and saying, like, I relied on my true friend to keep this secret or whatever.
I'm
so,
outraged.
Yeah, I wonder why the words I apologize, they're not in there? Were they? I forget.
Absolutely not.
It was I used the wrong words?
I wish I had used better wording.
I wish. So, yeah, you're right with all of the months. I can't believe, like, at BravoCon and everything, that Lindsay has been living a life where she knows that this is about to happen and has not had more time to create a better statement regarding this.
Also, meanwhile, Danielle was on Watch What Happens after, and she completely stood by her side. I think she like minorly was like, maybe it, like she shouldn't have done that or whatever. But Annaleigh Ashford, the actress, was on, and she was like pissed about it because like her husband is sober, and she's like, we watched it and we were like disgusted.
Oh, I have not watched that yet, and I'm so worried that I am gonna find what Danielle said to be indefensible, and in a wonderful run that Danielle has had. That is why
she you know, I think isn't completely on Lindsay's side about this exact topic, but her friendship overall, when they would play games and stuff, she would side with Lindsay on every single thing. She said that Lindsay was in fact blindsided by the breakup, and that she said that they filmed with the girls after the engagement got called off, and that so she filmed with Lindsay and got her side of the story, and that Danielle said she asked Carl to do the same with her to get his side, and that he declined, and she acted like that was some like smoking gun. I'm like, why the fuck would he want to talk to you?
Right. The story about the whole arc of why he made the decision, or just the cocaine night?
No, the like breakup.
Okay.
Like she said that they weren't going to let her go down like that, as in filming with just Carl and him breaking up with her on camera. So she said all the girls rallied around Lindsay after that, but that Carl wouldn't do the same.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll find that Danielle, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I find that it's indefensible. So I don't know how Danielle could, still be friends with Lindsay or justify that.
Lindsay did to Danielle was indefensible.
Yeah, totally. I want to ask about the blind side now. The blind side that Lindsay still wants to make happen as long as she can. Am I right to say that any couple who had this fight, knowing what we know about their entire relationship trajectory and Carl as a human and Lindsay as a human, anyone after this fight and what Lindsay accused Carl of would be justified in breaking up with their significant other or calling off an engagement?
I mean, if not on the spot, it's at least like, check one, or what do you call that? Like strike one. Strike one.
And also, knowing what I do know of Lindsay's behavior, which now has just shocked me to a new degree, I don't doubt that there are going to be other things on par with this season. And it's going to be, like you just said, strike one, strike two. Oh my God, what the hell is happening right now? This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
So I honestly would just say to me now, Carl is if he was having second thoughts about marrying Lindsay, this would have been all the justification he needs to make that decision. I already am off hashtag blindside. I mean, this
because
was horrible.
It completely like demolishes the foundation of their relationship, where her storyline always is that she dropped everything to support him in his sobriety, that she quit drinking alongside him, that she, I think she low-key kind of takes like a victim point of view, that like she's put her life on pause to help him or whatever. And I feel like you can kind of just start to see her imploding. Like, I'm not saying that she should be judged for drinking, like that's what the whole show's about. Like, everyone's drinking, that's the point. But I do think it's an interesting dynamic for a newly sober person to be dating someone who, for a while, the first like year of their engagement or whatever, decided to quit drinking, and that's what their dynamic was. And then she sort of wants to like switch and go back to normal life. Like, how you maintain that, especially if you're gonna, which she always does, gets drunk and picks fights.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and then not only do you drink, which is fine if you want to do that, but then all of your horrible fights that you have with Carl are spawned from drinking and excessive drinking.
It's a one-sided drunk conversation. It's not like you're both getting drunk and fighting. It's like if that's going to keep happening, I understand why he'd be like, he doesn't seem like judgmental of drinking. Like, he doesn't give her shit.
No.
But it's like, if your partner keeps getting fucked up and mad at you and you're sober and you could just see how it's playing out in front of you in the sober light of day, you're going to get sick of that.
Totally. And yeah, I mean, and Lindsay should be questioning her relationship with alcohol to be like, I just accused my fiance. I keep saying boyfriend. They're fiancés at this point. I accused my fiance of of breaking sobriety and doing coke because I was drunk as hell and mad at him. Like, that's, I mean, yeah, it's horrible. And I really feel bad for Carl through all of this. And he kind of had 6 months, or I don't even know how long that lasted, the 3 months of like the villain edit, like, and then I feel like no one now would go out, would say like that Carl's not justified in doing this. I mean, breaking off an engagement at the very least.
I know. I can't wait to dig into the internet and see what everyone's saying, because it's maybe the first time ever that I'll get to agree with everyone.
Yeah. And again, I can't, this shocked me so much that this was episode 2 of the season. Like,
I know.
Right at the start.
I know. I hope, I mean, whatever, it's going to play out how it plays out, but I hope that, I can't imagine that she would have so little self-awareness that she would keep doing things like this.
Yeah.
And I hope that there's not like retaliation by Carl that then makes people be like, see, he's an asshole. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
knowing my hero Carl, no, he's a straight and arrow, or what's that called? Straight arrow the entire time. There is, there's audio I remember of him yelling and going, "You accused me of doing drugs." And I was like, who the hell is he talking about? Like, I didn't even put it together that someone, that Lindsay would have actually been the one to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, let's say final thoughts. Did we juice everything out of that summer house?
I think so. I get so fired up about it. I can't believe how distilled the it played out exactly to my predisposed notions.
It did. It was like written for you. Lindsay gave you a beautiful, wonderful gift.
I guess for that I have to thank her. She played the villain to a T.
Let's do it. Let's thank Lindsay now. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Thank you. That was amazing what you did.
It did give me more serotonin than I've had in quite some time.
It was wild. I can't believe. And then let's just advocate for Summer House. If you just listen to us talk for an hour about Summer House and you're only getting your Summer House commentary from us, do the work, put in the work, and join us in this Summer House journey. Because if this episode is any indication of the quality of the season, we are in for a wild ride.
Yeah. I would recommend it to anyone.
Me too.
Yeah.
Join the Summer House movement.
Yes.
Beverly Hills Part 1, we were going to talk about it, and maybe I would very lightly touch upon
5 minutes.
5 minutes, but nothing to me was so worthy of discussion. I think it's a 3-parter, and they saved most of the juice for Part 2 or Part 3 or whenever Kathy Hilton's going to come on for some reason. But here, were there any highlights that you thought that we should, comment on? Turtle time.
I mean, Erica did. It felt like a slight reality reckoning, just a tiny bit, that Erica gave Andy shit for like kicking her while she was down at the last reunion. Like Andy was like, were my questions unwarranted? Because Erica says that she hopes that Kyle gets dogpiled the same way she did now that it's her turn or whatever, which is kind of like a gnarly thing to say. But and she was like, Andy was up my ass last year. And he's like, was that unwarranted? And she was like, no, but it still hurts. Like, it sucked, like, really bad.
Yeah. And they cut to the clip where he's like, I'm going to put you on a spit and roast you like a pig or something. But it's like, she took that, like, that offended her or whatever, but he was being hyperbolic. Of course. He was just being silly.
Sure. And it's like, I mean, Erica was getting roasted for like potential participation of like embezzling from orphans and widows. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. Andy had to put on his like journalism hat there and really get to the bottom of what the hell you were doing.
Did you like the opening quote of it's Andy clearly wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt that's blurred, and he goes, Beverly Hills, she.
I did like that. He came in with good energy that morning.
Oh my God, he goofed on Kyle and said that Mauricio was coming, and she believed him.
She goes, you fucker. Like, she was stunned. But I was like,
he loves to do that. Like, every reunion he goes, and now bring out so-and-so, and everyone's like, what? And he's like, I'm just kidding.
But I like that joke, and obviously like Kyle like loved that joke. She got to laugh, but like, why wouldn't possibly Mo be there?
Well, I mean, hopefully she would know if he was coming.
Right. I guess so. Right. She would know, but I'm still, it's like, it's not
But yeah,
so,
that means he's not coming at all.
it's like not so wild to
I
think
know
that
they used to
Mauricio
bring
might-
out the husbands.
Right.
They usually do.
Like New Jersey is like half the husbands talking.
Yeah.
Like what? Wait, do they not do that anymore? Now that you said it, I'm like, no, Ralph Pittman was there. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
they still bring husbands out.
I think it depends on the relevancy.
But I am now. I'm like, wait, there's been a huge lack of husbands coming out for a while. I feel like that.
Yeah.
I don't
True.
know why I'm feeling that way, but yeah, it's
I mean, if anything, it would be relevant for Mauricio this year,
Right.
but maybe that's too intense.
well, one through line I just want to say through all of this is that Dorit and Kyle are not doing good.
Right.
And Dorit is ready to call Kyle out for trying to silence her, potentially by sending her a huge long text right before the reunion saying, hey, no one really knows what you and I are going through personally, even though we haven't spoken in months. And I'd prefer not to have a horrible fight and potentially end our friendship at the reunion if we don't have to. And Dorit says, she's like, thank you for texting me, Kyle. That you just gave me everything I'm going to talk about for the entire 3 parts of this reunion.
Did you notice she was getting an IV drip while she was showing it to Erica?
Yeah. And I've come around on Dorit and I appreciate her as a supporting figure, but I do think that she is using now her relationship with Kyle to give herself a powerful storyline at a time when she really needs it, because she wasn't really hitting that hard narratively
Right.
this season.
And then it forced Kyle to say, like, I can count on one hand the number of times we've hung out off camera, which was kind of brutal.
I know, and there's so many now examples of people on Bravo telling us the truth of their relationships with other Bravo celebrities, and I feel like there's always this like, no, we hung out multiple times. It's
Yeah.
like, if Kyle is willing to say that
That's
you guys
like,
don't hang out.
Carolyn Tinsley.
Yeah.
When she was like, Bethany's like, you guys were really close. And Carol's like, not that close. I mean, we went on that trip, but that was about it. It's
Yeah,
like, why do you have to say that?
No, but I'm almost like, I agree you don't have to say it, but I believe the people when they say we're not that close, because why would you say it?
Right. I know. Because Kyle kept saying, like, I love you very much.
Right.
But like, it sounds more like they're almost like family friends, like their
Yes.
husbands are best friends.
Yes.
And they care about each other, but they're not, as she said, not her day-to-day. Her workout buddies are her everyday friends.
And Kyle's grievance was that Dorit was creating a false portrait of how close they were to make it seem like once Kyle had Morgan Wade in her life, or how horrible her relationship was, she kicked Dorit to the curb.
Right.
So Kyle's like, you used a falsified version of our story to take digs at me to make my situation seem worse, which I think
believe.
You believe
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that makes sense to me too.
Yeah.
Dorit wanted a little bit of juice from what's the fruit of Beverly Hills? Juice from the diamond.
Juice from the diamond juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I feel like Dorit, kind of is under attack low key this whole time. Like, it's her versus Kyle, her versus Garcelle,
And you
her
said
versus Crystal.
You said she dressed like a Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, she does look like that. I wouldn't use those words because I don't remember doing that deeply.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. She just, the Bene Gesserit and Dune are this, sort of like this psychic community or whatever.
Okay.
And
Are they the one that put Paul's hand in a box?
yes, that is the community in which Paul is, Paul from Dune, Timothée Chalamet, he is a part of the Bene Gesserit community, as well as being the son and heir of the Atreides family.
Okay. But yeah, she was serving Dune for sure. But yeah, so like Garcelle hates Dorit. She hates. She goes, they bring up that attack conversation again of like that it's problematic for Dorit to accuse Garcelle of attacking. And Garcelle goes even further to say, you've been held at gunpoint in your household, so you know what an attack is, which I'm kind of like, I'm not even getting into like the racial part of it. It's kind of back to the Crystal. What word was she
Dark.
using? No, about Sutton entering the room.
Violation.
I'm like, I don't want this like dictionary thing. Like, it's just like, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, the word. Okay, if you're saying you can't use it because like of racial reasons, that's separate. But I'm like, we know that you can accuse someone of attacking you like attacking your character. Like it's not that literal.
Right. I agree with what you're saying about parsing these words. I mean, I do remember at the time, I was like, Crystal's usage of violation felt strong.
Yeah.
You know, and then Crystal had to justify exactly what violation meant or whatever. So I think you're right. If we have to keep parsing words, but I do think now forever that the term attack will be loaded and people will be less likely to use it in the future, and maybe that's a good thing.
Lindsay Hubbard says it. And I noticed this week on she said that she was attacked at the reunion. I was like, ding, attack.
Yeah. Well, I'll give Dorit a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, which is that she did say that if you look back through the footage of Beverly Hills, it has been said 1,000 times.
I mean, they rolled the footage of like all housewives. That's just a common turn of phrase. But but then she had to be dumb and posted that multiple posts about happily living in her bubble.
That was very bad.
Which is idiotic.
Yeah, that was really bad. Multiple posts, didn't take them down, had to correct one, and even Andy said that was horrible. I don't know what the hell
he was like, you should have cut and run. Like, what the fuck? And then Dorit trying to like put a bow on it is like, Garcelle, do you like me? And she goes, sometimes. And she's like, do you want to have a friendship? And she's like, I'm not sure. Which I kind of loved that she was like, yeah, I actually don't really like you, like, which is clear. Yeah,
Garcelle does not like Dorit. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Anna Marie
sure.
segment of this?
This was also so, especially the, did you watch the supersized version or whatever?
Yeah, so I liked the Teddy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked, that was maybe the most entertaining thing for me because I think Teddy is so overhated that I almost find it absolutely ridiculous, and I want to stan her to the wind and like say Teddy's name through the rooftops because I didn't find Teddy that bad at all, and I think it's totally fine for Kyle to have a legitimate friendship and bring someone around that she loves. Like,
are you jealous of that BravoCon question asker for getting so much airtime?
No, because their reaction to him. So they show a question from BravoCon, which is like, "Why are you letting that gnat Teddy always circle like a fly around you?"
They're like, "Why are you trying to make Teddy happen?"
Yeah, and then they all said that it was a vile, rude comment that they can't believe was ever asked. And I actually liked Kyle's response because that's how I feel. She was like, I don't have to make Teddy happen. She has already happened in my life and the lives of other people here.
Yeah, she's like, she's essentially good friends with everyone on the stage.
Yeah,
like,
and then Kyle does not like that Dorit didn't at that point say and defend Teddy and say, I also love Teddy. And
Dorit said she didn't want to even give that horrible man a response. I'm like, I'm sure.
Right. Anyway,
but yeah, she also said there's this whole thing that I kind of forgot about that Kyle's like, I'm used to being accused of being gay because everyone thought me and Teddy were in a relationship.
Right. Yeah. The Teddy stuff was good. Everybody should watch the extended version just for those
the
moments.
Extended version really gets into the nitty gritty of the medical details of it all for the anesthesiology or nurse anesthetist.
There's a huge turf war between these two different factions of anesthesiologists and anesthetists.
Yeah, I want to watch that show. She kind of implied that she was saying that there's a turf war because essentially the MDs are against the non-MDs because they perform the same, this is her take,
right.
Don't get mad at me, medical community, that they perform the same service, but doctors charge more, even though the nurses are capable of the same. But I don't know anything about any of this, but my understanding is that anesthesiology is like the most dangerous and important part of surgery, and that it's like shouldn't be taken lightly. So it's kind of a weird topic to be like, actually, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
totally. I was a little bit zoning out because I sort of found this parsing to be on par with like dictionary parsing.
Yeah. It was like so specific.
I sort of believe both of you. I believe that Anna Marie maybe didn't represent herself, or I believe that Crystal didn't really understand, but ultimately I do not care where we land here.
No, it's boring. But I did believe, because at first when this all very first came up, I was like, it would be understandable for Crystal to have misheard or whatever. But when she says why she was so certain about it, I was like, oh, I believe you completely. That she said she has this half sister who's literally an anesthesiologist.
Right.
She says she has a private practice at Cedars. This is how she operates. Da, 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 da. And so I'm like, well, then that's why it hit so hard for her. Like she specifically remembers. So one thing about Crystal, she, in my opinion, is boring and whatever, but I believe her mental, like, note taking.
So I was gonna say, so Crystal scoreboard for this season +1.
Yeah. Well, did you like that? She, Andy was like, "You got your voice back this season. What do you have to say?" And she goes, "I'm here and I'm loving it." And I'm like, "You're out."
You're out. You're out. And also, I already said this, but it took Anna Marie, who flopped harder than anyone has ever flopped, basically, well, among the worst flops in casting history, for Crystal to have
a tete-a-tete
moment. Yeah, 2 moments that we like sort of like. And even they're not even that good. But I did feel bad, obviously, for Anna Marie when she talked about what she was struggling with the entire time.
I know.
I don't fully know. I get that she wanted to compartmentalize, but I obviously would have found that to be much more endearing, like that she's going through this horrible, horrible thing other than like esophagus gate.
Right.
But I understand completely why she did not want to discuss that. So it added a little more nuance to Anna Marie's story, and I felt bad, but I don't think it's enough. Even with her full apology about the esophagus, when she says completely, I should have never ever brought that up, like full mea culpa. Still, I don't think Anna Marie can have another season.
Do you think friend of or just nothing?
Ooh, the audience reaction is so bad, and even me, who's trying to add an alternate, theory of her and say maybe she got just a really bad edit, and her esophagus thing, I knew she was just pulling at, she was just going at, what's that?
She weaponized her profession.
Yeah, she did that, and it was just such a bad hill to die on for your entire season. Like one of the lamest things you could ever make a part of your story.
Yeah.
But still, I just don't know if I saw enough, merit in her as an entertaining figure to justify another season, even as a friend of.
Yeah.
I'd be sad if she was a friend of.
Yeah. Did you like what Kyle revealed that Crystal met Lisa Vanderpump and had to introduce herself because Lisa didn't know she was a housewife. And once she said, "I'm on the show," she goes, "Is Kyle still on?"
I love that. I believe both.
Andy went, "No."
Yeah. They all loved it. They all laughed. Kyle loves it. I believe, I think Lisa, obviously was being a little cheeky. I think she even knew Crystal.
Sure. We don't need to get into the child bride of it all, but what I do want to bring up is that because Crystal was like, "Fuck you, I went to college and I built $100 million company," which I think we maybe touched on this before, but I assume that she doesn't talk about it because of the Bethany clause.
She doesn't want. Yeah, right. Her business can't be talked about because they would get
because that would be a huge interesting storyline. I'm like, that would make her so much more interesting if we knew that next to everything else, she was running this massive company.
They did show her one time at the coconut water factory. Do you remember?
It was like for a second.
I know,
right?
but you're killing it today. Bethany clause is totally why she doesn't get to run rampant with her story.
Because meanwhile, Loverboy is the exact opposite. Kyle holds the Loverboy in his confessional.
That,
every party has 200 people drinking Loverboy. Like he's like, it's worth it.
Oh. Yes. Whatever Bravo wants to take, it's obviously worth it. I mean, he surprised everyone with Limoncello Loverboy the minute they stepped into the house in episode 1. No, you're right. That's probably why she doesn't get to just show off her huge enterprise.
I didn't hear about it until like a podcast. And then she finally mentions it here, but I'm like, that's crazy that she has a bigger business than anyone on the stage and she just doesn't mention it.
Yeah, I would almost, if I were Crystal and you actually enjoy being a part of this universe, even though I don't think she does, really, truly.
Yeah.
I can't tell if Crystal likes being it, but I think it'd be worth it to have the like post-business Bravo Bethany clause where maybe they get a little bit just so that you can have a compelling storyline if you want to stay on this show.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then there was a little bit of Kathy stuff, which I think maybe that's why they're bringing Kathy out, because Kyle says that she thought it was awful of Dorit to not fully take Kyle's side when Kyle and Kathy were really going through it. I think that was last year. I'm almost positive that was last year. She says, why the hell were you even on Kathy's side at all? You met her like twice in your life. And I think she just couldn't get past that Dorit didn't fully have her back, which that is a hard thing to get over. Yeah.
I do kind of question Dorit's, that once Kyle mentioned that she felt like Dorit plays to the audience, I was kind of like, I see it.
Yeah, me too. So did you? I think I'm hopeful that the next two parts are going to be good. Or one part. I don't know if it's a 2-part or a 3-part.
It's 3.
Oh, it's 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hopeful. And there's some stuff. There's some fertile, stuff to talk about here. But not the best. But what could you expect from part 1 of a 3-part reunion when they have to talk about a lot of the stuff that we considered kind of boring, throughout the season? But there's going to be some power in part 3, I'm sure.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we did it.
Look at us.
I have to pee again.
You do? Okay, so an hour and 50, it's a little over where we wanted to go, but I hope I'll do our little, back of house business or whatever. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We knew there was just so much that we had to talk about on this special Friday episode. We're going to release this on Friday. So this is going to be out in the world the minute that this, we're done. And if you liked it, please, we love reviews. We read every one with tears in our eyes, tears of pure joy or tears of hate if you say something mean. But so please don't do that.
Yeah.
And then also, if you want to hear even more, there's Patreon episodes that we have, a whole huge backlog of Vanderpump Rules recaps.
Yep, every Monday.
Okay, well, we love you, and I hope you like this episode. Please let us know and be emphatic. If you really did like this episode, please let us know, because this was sort of a rare opportunity for Amy and I to do an extra episode.
TGIF.
Okay, we love you. Bye.
Bye.